Hi, mathematicians. The key to problem number 1 is recognizing what each of these little chips represents. So every one of the little yellow chips you have equals a positive 1, and every red chip is equal to a negative 1. Well, as you can see in our first example, we don't have any yellow chips, so I'm just going to focus on the red ones. And so each one of those is worth negative 1. So that means, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red chips. So that means this is a negative 5. And the arrow tells you that negative 5 is being moved over here into the problem space, right? So we're putting 5 negatives in there. And then we have 1, 2, and 3 negative chips. So we're going to put negative 5 into the problem space. And then we're going to put 3 more negatives into the problem space. So you've got negative 5 plus negative 3 being moved into that problem space. And in math, we have a tendency to not like it when we have a little plus and a minus right there written next to each other. So you're going to see in a lot of textbooks and stuff that they put parentheses around that negative 3. That just is a way to keep it organized because they just don't like that plus and that minus sitting like right next to each other. And so what happens if you start off with a negative 5 and then you combine it with a negative 3? Well, how many total red chips are you going to have in the circle when you get finished? Well, you're going to have a total of negative 8 because you put 5 negatives and then 3 more negatives. So the problem that we need to type into the answer box is negative 5 plus negative 3 equals negative 8. And be careful about the formatting because I love that it checks for you whether you did it right or not, but the formatting is a little petty. Make sure when you type this into the answer box that you don't put any spaces in between there. So again, you're going to type negative 5 plus negative 3 with the parentheses equals negative 8. And again, make sure you type it in there with no spaces in between. In problem number 2, once again, we don't have any yellow chips. So I'm just going to kind of be like, we're not paying attention to those for right now. So let's look down in the problem space and see what we started with. So we originally had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negative, like red chips, right? So we started out with negative 8. And then look at what's happening with this little boxy border kind of thing. It's telling you that you're going to take 3 of those negatives, and that arrow tells you that they're getting out of there. So what operation means taking something out? Well, that's going to be subtraction. And what are you taking out? Well, you're taking out 1, 2, 3 negatives, right? So you're taking away 3 negatives. So there should be the subtraction sign there to represent the fact that you're taking them away. And then there should be a negative 3 because you're taking away 3 negatives. So again, in math, we like to keep things nice and organized. Frequently, they don't like it when you've got these 2 symbols that are right next to each other. So we're going to put parentheses around the negative 3. So if you started out with 8 negatives, like the problem told us to, we started out with negative 8, and then we took away 3 of those. How many are going to be left? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives left. So that means the problem that we are going to type into the answer box is negative 8, because that's what we started with. We started out with 8 negatives. And then we are going to type into the answer box, and we're going to type the subtraction sign because we are clearly getting ready to take away. The arrow tells us we're taking them out of there. So we're taking away 1, 2, 3 negatives. So I'm going to type into the answer box. And remember, put the parentheses around there to keep it nice and lined up. So -8 minus -3. And then what's left over after we take away those 3 negatives, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those are 5 negatives. So -8, taking away 3 of those negatives, is going to leave us with -5.